Good morning, everybody. Good morning on the Uncle John show. Podcast, whatever you want to call it. This will be like an introduction. It was an introduction before. It was the preliminaries. So it's an introduction. It's a podcast. It's a show. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to go through an attorney and an accountant to go through the correct policies and procedures to open up a business. So, I just want to explain something in regards to this thing. And this company, like Staples and Office Max, ladies and gentlemen, in regards to this. To the attorneys that are with the insurance company for workers' comp, I want to just explain something to you guys with this list representation on the workers' comp. Stephanie and Alan, who are on that list, they told me, and I told Rocco, and I told the attorney, and I tried telling the bar, I tried telling the Office of Inspector General, I tried telling the New York State Secretary of State that deals with this jurisdiction with your license, like the American Bar Association and etc., in which I need to make you aware. Just like a medical license, because I did have to go on the United States medical licensing exam, like the RN, which I posted the acronym. I'm not going to explain that national such and such with HIPAA and the family education and etc. All of those things related with commerce law and universal commercial code. Universal commercial code and business law, I studied, ladies and gentlemen, I studied that. So Valerie wanted me to do a little bit to address something. She wanted me to write this down. I apologize, ladies and gentlemen, because just like the Great Escape, yes, the Great Escape, everyone, I want to just keep it real, because Piers Morgan, what are you talking about? You identify as a black lesbian? Do you know Piers Morgan that was in a hospital? There was a case studies program on the licensing exam in court. In quotes, I identify as a black lesbian. Your credentials, Piers Morgan, as well as all those newscasts like News 12, got compromised for a very long time. And it has my name on it. So, I like to apologize to Valerie and to the Tate family for what I'm about to put down here. Not put down here, but what I'm about to read. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's blank. Because I do something like anybody else. I have a face-to-face conversation. And I did write stuff down. It's in this other one. I'm just going to riff off of this. Valerie and I had in the asterisk in trademark itemized bill and contract. So every exchange, I just want to explain something, because these people, these priests or rabbis, are going to start going nuts. They're going to start going insane. If you made any I'm saying to you people that are with this satanistic thing, like the Illuminati or whatever, if you made any soul deal where you said, where like Kanye and many of these people like Cat Williams did not ever sell their soul or do any type of exchange, that includes a marriage license, that includes anything related to spells or the occult, I want to just designate the importance of the Joker card. So, number one, you can't sell your soul without having to check in with an accountant or an attorney present. Let me repeat that. In the past, in Zatar and Shara law and the 10 Commandments related to it, if you sell your soul and they say to you, you're going to, this is something that's in case studies, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm bringing this up to the police because I told the police numerous times. I told the FDNY and the EMT. And this is something that has to do with that mental health BS, that I am not going to sit here, ladies and gentlemen, and lie to you. When the person known as Satan or Sam or his relatives says to you, because I read the Dead Sea Scrolls and everything related to the book of Isaiah and all of those books that have to do with Torah law and everything related to that, because I studied at Yeshiva and St. John's University. And I was around people that were priests that did exorcisms. And that is stated, ladies and gentlemen, it's stated in this book, and it's stated in this book. And the Tanakh explains that, with soul exchanges and things related to that nature. I have the Zatar law underneath that, and I'm going to show that later. But something Valerie, John Zerka want me to address, very important on this phone here, on the cell phone, landline, and emails, and etc. You can't sell your soul without having an attorney or accountant present. This is including employment, because that has to do with a blood debt. Let me repeat that. That has to do with the blood debt. So from now on, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not dictating anybody. I'm just explaining something that a priest and a cardinal and a past pope, a pope to the assistant, he was assistant to the pope, rabbi, the rabbinic organization, the priesthood organization, the St. Rose organization, all these people have told me since childhood, from the Zangrillo and Cantasano family, have explained this to me, face to face, with this grimoire and this all-spell book nonsense, which I have the thing that has to do with Prophet Abraham in that manuscripts that I have here. So, I'm going to make this simple again. You cannot sell your soul without an accountant or an attorney present. It is the same principle as applying for a job or an interview or anything in state, federal, private, or anything. You have to have, not me, you have to have one of my relatives, my friends, my relatives and I in the room. You cannot take a position. The police cannot even do any of this stuff, ladies and gentlemen, or the FBI. Because the PBA, the FDNY explained to John, the Oskankowskis, the Shark, Mr. Wolf, Mr. Curry, John Curry explained this to me, that you can't do anything without John Gaetjens or the Grantner family or the Gardone or the whatever you want to call the alternative names. You can't do anything. This is a stick. This is a representation, ladies and gentlemen. On the Uncle John show, John wants to just state facts. You can't do anything without my permission. Not my permission. Yahweh and Elohim's permission. That means God. You can't play God. So if you're trying to taint somebody's career or wrongful termination, you need to address this. The attorneys and people, you need to address this to my relatives and I. Because we need to go into not court. We're not going into the courts. We're going into religious courts. We're going into the news outlet courts. We're going into the tax courts. We're going into courts related to deal with jurisdiction. And we're going to the courts that deal with the judiciary branch and committees that deal with Congress and Senate, where they don't go in front of Congress or Senate. They go in front of people like Mark Rubenstein's relatives or Cardinal Timothy Dolan's relatives. And you have to explain things to those people. I'm not playing dictator. I'm just stating facts. Because what you're doing with Social Security is illegal. This is what Valerie and my friends are saying. Now, in regards to YouTube and Twitter, from this day forward, I'm saying September 11th, because it has to do with the operations with 911. And this has to do with things that are related to me with Adam Rand. So I want to pay respects to Adam Rand and all these people that went through pain and suffering, and they sacrificed everything, just like Jesus, just like Joshua, Christ, and his dad, and his uncle's relatives. God is not one person, it's a family. Yahweh and Elohim and Jofi Rapha, they go by those names, ladies and gentlemen, but they all go by different names. And that's the thing, ladies and gentlemen, I met them. I met Jesus, or Joshua Christ. He's real. He's not a fake person. He's got holes. And when I was in the Smithsonian and I studied library science at Princeton University, ladies and gentlemen, and I did everything I could do, my grandfather, George, he had a problem with the Trump's other relatives in Europe. Because there's been for a very long time, ladies and gentlemen, there's been a civil war going on between organizations, and you have these guys. This sniper person is this sniper person who I'm not going to mention. With this case with Charlie Kirk. Well, all of that stuff. You have my credentials, you have my handwriting and everything like that. You can't, Utah or Nevada with Las Vegas, or you can't do anything without my family or I or Valerie or John Zerka's permission. You can't do anything without our permission because you didn't pay us. The AmeriCorps has to get paid back. The Peace Corps has to get paid. They have to get their money back. The NYPD has to get their money back. The FDNY, the Nassau County Sheriff's Department, the Suffolk County Sheriff, the Postmaster General's Office, the Post Office Inspector General, the Post Office Inspector. They all have to get paid. You got to pay the secretary of the 911 operator. You're not paying them correctly. Do you know why? Because Valerie and I found out with the company Gita, which is GAETA, and Sturma Bank, and Gardner Bank, and Alpha and Omega, and Mandracula or Mandracula Incorporated, it's all affiliated with your banks or your insurance companies. All affiliated. This is what Valerie and I found out with discovery evidence, but nobody was willing. We saw things. And what you guys are doing in the government is illegal. You can't hold people hostage. United States taxpayers cannot be held hostage. Michael Suvero and I spent 17 and a half hours up in Albany talking about this stuff with pensions. And you can't, the pension system cannot be attached to the United States stock market or bonds. It's not allowed to be. And it's the same thing with the securities with the municipality bond or a steeple bond. You're attaching that to a stock or nor a bond. You can't attach it to it because it's illegal. It's like labeling a hospital a corporation. That's completely illegal. It goes against the Articles of Corporation. That's everything in business law. That's everything in when you become an accountant, when you have an MBA major, when you're a certified managerial accountant. That's all things related to those jurisdictions. With the AICPA and the IFRS, the International Financial Reporting Standards, or the American the American Institute or the American International of Certified Public Accountants, the AICPA. And it also has to do with the UCC, Universal Commercial Code. It has to do with commerce. They have a committee. The UCC and Commerce Law have committees that deal with that in the legislative branch. And that's my jurisdiction. That's my relative's jurisdiction. It's not just my relative's jurisdiction here. It's my relative's jurisdiction in the King of England, because the King of England can't do anything without the United States. It's the same thing. King Charles with the Parliament, he has to explain stuff to the French government because you in the United States are affecting their economies. You're affecting European stocks and bonds. You can't do that. This is why Daniel Pena said this to you. If you found out who's the creator of Bitcoin, you would get sick to your stomach. Ladies and gentlemen, Valerie and my relatives invented that Bitcoin. Ladies and gentlemen, Valerie and my relatives, we established those things like Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, all those companies, Twitter. Those things have to do with YouTube, Vine. It's like the company that Valerie and I found out. Gracias is something that Valerie and I worked on when we were teenagers and in college. And you know what you did? You stole. You stole from holy people. And you're going to pay the sacrifice for it. And this is why I'm upset with the Charlie Kirk incident. Because he was trying to explain to you that this mental health incident, these people that are sickos, they're on half a dozen of these medications. You didn't do a psychiatric or a psychology background check with any of these guns in these other states. They're more stricter in New York or California. You know what I was required, Valerie and I were required to do? Wear 2 double masks with John Zerka, with 2 double mask gloves, and go to each state and file motions, file discovery. I didn't go outside of the country. I stayed within the country, within the states. And you expect me to be what you call normal. There's no such thing as normal. So Kim Kardashian, you have my engagement ring. You have Harold Peterson's credentials. You don't have just Harold Peterson's credentials. You have United States Marshals information that's not just in Central Islip over here, but that's in Manhattan. That deals with things that have to do with bail bondsmen and things related to that nature, like Dog the Bounty Hunter's relatives. So I don't know what to tell you, Kim. I'm going on vacation around my birthday, and I'm moving on with my life. There's nothing else I can do. I'm building this. Not only am I doing this show of building a company, I'm doing things legitimately because I don't want to play games. And Valerie and I, we always went we went to an attorney, we went to an accountant, went to our friends or relatives that deal with this. And that's why the European Organization of Patent Trademark Office, the PTO, just like the United States PTO, they're going to need their money back because you're stealing intellectual property that belongs to them, and you can't mess around with that stuff. And that's my relative's jurisdiction, like the FCC and the FTC. President Trump, could you explain in writing? Valerie wants to know with this person called Victoria or Vicky that got pushed out of the company from the FCC, why Mrs. James wrongfully terminated Vicky and how she's like me, where there's a workers' comp case and there's all criminal activity and there's nothing we can do. And you want to accuse us of a crime, Mrs. James. You want to put handcuffs in me. And you want to accuse me of a crime that I did not commit. And you, Mrs. James, those people, I'm black. Those people in the black community, just like the Spanish people, they're going to find out a lot of stuff. Just like the Kathy Hochul lady. Mrs. Hochul, they know about your embezzlement and fraud. They are fully aware of it. You're going to get caught. You did something to Mr. Cuomo and most of those people that not even I would do. No mayor, no congressman or senator would do. And you're an insult. I'm praying for you, but that's an insult. You don't lie under oath. That's perjury. It's the same thing with plagiarism. You're plagiarizing my documentation. You're putting words, you're using my words, and you're using my handwritten statements. And that's what I like to call as a serious problem, because how can you do anything without child protection when it's got all my credentials on it? And George and Edward George Gatchen and Edward Grantner, it's got all that YouTube, it's got all our information on it. All my coding information that has to deal with the P system, the programming, which I'm going to show you a book. It's not just, ladies and gentlemen, it's not just I can never touch the books again. Grey Anatomy. Sorry, sorry, sorry. The Case for Good Apologies. The Crash Course. Pyrrhon, The Crash Course. So, you know, what can I necessarily do? You know, I'm 35 years old. My birthday's coming up. And you're going to need to be held accountable. So take care, guys. Have a pleasant and wonderful day.